Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine, and this is the On Lockdown series. Today we're with another special guest, Mr. Dean, outgoing CEO of the Cape Cobras. I mean, amazing work he's done there over the past few years. A lot of us will be very sad to see him leave. So we're gonna chat a little bit to him about that experience and his experience in cricket, etc., and what his career has been like. So, hello, Mr. Dean, and welcome to the platform.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you.
So, yeah, so let's start with lockdown first. I always start the show with the lockdown and how's it been for you and what really have you been up to?
Look, I think what I found pretty amazing through this lockdown is that you tend to actually almost be busier than you are when you're at normal office. Because everybody wants to have a meeting, and the fact that you have these technologies available today, it's been pretty busy, and particularly with the lockdown and the impact that it's going to have on the game, and also the impact. I think everybody's trying to do risk registers and stuff like that to make sure that they're ahead of the game. They use the term, say, ahead of the curve. With respect to that, so it's been reasonably busy. It's been very different and very difficult for somebody who's always been jumping in a car and going and often being away and around in meetings. It's been very difficult, but I suppose I think what one has done is adapted pretty quickly, and otherwise I find it okay at the moment.
Yeah, that's also first time we're doing Ramadan during this period as well. So it's a different experience completely. So with regards to cricket, let's just get to a little bit into your journey, because I know that you've been in cricket for a very long time, but I don't think a lot of people, or from my generation, of course, don't understand the way you started. So can you maybe give us insight into how cricket became a love for you?
Yeah, look, I think I've had two loves, in sport, particularly cricket and athletics. So, I mean, in athletics is in fact, the code of sport that I got all my accolades in terms of colors and achievements, So, I mean, I ran for Western Province and for SASA at the time, that was in the late 70s. So it's a long time ago, rather the early 70s, sorry, not the late 70s, the early 70s. And then I would say my cricket journey, I've always loved cricket, obviously as a game, played it as a junior. But I think more importantly was in early 1981, 82. We formed a cricket club called Garlandale Cricket Club, myself and somebody called Armin Jacobs, who was well known in the board times. And we started this club, and our focus was entirely junior cricket. Okay. In fact, we played in the first team, but otherwise we had about 7 and eventually grew to 12 age group teams. We also initiated the first day-night six-a-side, junior six-a-side at Athlone Stadium in 1984. You understand me? So during that period, that's where I started. And then obviously being involved with the club, you were involved with the Western Province Cricket Board as a delegate to meetings, got to know Mr. Hawa well. And obviously, we were very staunch SACOS-based guys. In those years, no normal sport in abdul, the double standards resolution, all those things came into play. And then I'll fast forward. Then I also looked after. Then I started teaching in 1985. Okay. I started as a social worker. And then started the club, then started teaching in 85 in Mitchell's Plain, in Tafels at Mitchell's Plain. And within 9 months, I got involved with Western Province Senior Schools, sport. Okay. Athletics obviously was my passion, so I was a track referee throughout my teaching career, which ended in 93. But in those 7 years, I was, within a year, I'd become the convener of cricket, senior schools cricket. And I held that position, and that was organizing cricket in the Western Province region, and included everything. I mean, your job that time included everything from organizing coaching courses to fixtures to managing to all those kind of things, right? And it was in that period also that one gathered a greater love not only for the game but for youth, particularly in the game, and to watch their development. We all know that in 1991 unity came, okay, and unity came prior to a new dispensation, okay, and I must recall that I was one of those, and we were very few clubs. I think there were only 4 clubs at the time that didn't enjoy the unification, and we broke away. Okay, I was part of Garlandale Cricket Club. I think there was Atlantis Cricket Club. There was I can't recall clearly now, but there were 4 clubs at the time. You know, Daryl Roof. I can't remember which club he was involved with because he was the other one. And we for 18 months, you know, we played basically amongst each other, Khalid. Okay. We also then realized that, you know, the train was going in a certain direction and it wasn't going to turn back. You know, so I think around about 96, that was the time. In 1996, still I taught, and then I was in business for 2 years. But in that period, in 96, I think the important thing for me then is to have to make a call, right? I was approached. There was a job at Newlands as a youth coordinator. Shahid Khan, Fuad Wahi, Ghulam Jaffer, these people were all involved with me at senior school level. You understand me? Who had now joined, was involved at Newlands already and serving on the youth executives there and stuff. They had come to see me one night and said, look, please, you know, you must make yourself available and apply for this job. And to cut a long story short, I applied for that job in 1996 as a youth coordinator. That's where I started. When you talk about my journey at Western Province Cricket, I started there on the 1st of April, 1997. Okay, which is effectively 22 and a half years ago. Okay, so a long time ago. I went through the following jobs. I was the youth coordinator, and then I became the youth manager. I then took over the development portfolio from Rushdie Majid. So I looked after youth and development. There was a stage I ran club cricket. I initiated women's cricket in 99. I must say, amongst quite a bit of resistance at the time. Understand me? But we started women's cricket in 1999. And then I also at one stage, looked after club cricket. I also looked after, for a brief period, the stadium. So I think just about every portfolio that exists at Newlands, you understand me, I had a taste of, except rolling the pitch. Okay, I never got onto the groundsman side, but I think just about everything else there, you know, and as I said, to cut a long story short, really moved from that through those jobs, and after the World Cup, you know, Arthur Turner left, and Andre Odendaal took over in 2004-05. But at that point, I then taken over amateur cricket in the position called the director of amateur cricket. So all amateur cricket fell under me at that time. And then in 2010, you know, as I say, my journey was very much in the amateur game, where it doesn't matter what. In the amateur game, I then in 2010, you understand me, became general manager, you know, of Western Province Cricket. And so the role was when we went beyond your amateur game. I still oversaw all amateur cricket, but then my roles, projects, and all kinds of other things came into being as well, you know. And then in 2015, got into the chief executive job. If I want to be entirely honest, 2-3 days before I leave, you understand me, that I've thoroughly missed the grassroots game, and I missed the youth, and I really missed that. And it's maybe one shouldn't say it, but I will say it. I'd never really ever enjoyed the CEO job.
Yes, it's a whole different level of pressure there. I'm going to backtrack a bit and talk to you about youth cricket, because I'm a particular fan of the youth system and scouting new talents, etc., and seeing the younger players develop into cricketers that they are today. I know you were directly involved with that, obviously, like you said, and I want to ask you some insights into that roles. What is the sort of things that you look for? Because it's something we can use today when we're watching cricket and we're watching semi-pro cricket and watching school cricket. What are the key factors that stood out to you about a young cricketer and the qualities about him? When you look at him and you're like, wow, because I know you've been directly involved with guys like Rory Kleinveld, JP Duminy, and Vernon Philander, etc. So what stands out from a youth player where you say, wow, okay, cool, I think this guy is going to be a future Protea or future Western Province player?
I think when it comes to a batsman, okay, I think when it comes to a batsman, my response would be very simple. It's always just how much time the guy's got to play. You understand me? And also what he does naturally, what you see him do naturally. Not that somebody coached him, but what he does naturally, because you can tweak the detail, but you can't tweak the basics. You understand me? I mean, the guy just does it naturally. So JP is a perfect example of that. You understand me? JP was a quick learner, but also he always had time, you understand me, to play shots. And also I think what makes a great cricketer, I'm thinking that you're going to end up serving your country, is 99, now I would say 90% of the time, must also be a person with a good character. I think that's also important. Somebody who understands what it means to get to the top, and somebody that doesn't make excuses. You understand me? That kind of person, the guy who never stops working hard. Because I mean, we all know you can train as hard as you want. You can have as much talent as you want. But if you don't train, you won't get to the top. Understand me? It is both. When it comes with bowling as well, I think very much you see a guy who can continue to quick bowlers or slower bowlers. You understand me? Is the ability to read the game from a young age, the ability to see where they should put people, and the ability to be able to tell their captains what should be done. You understand me? And I've seen guys like that. Vernon may be a good example of that as well. He always knew what he was about. I want to say that he wasn't, maybe it took a while to mature, that I must say. You understand me? As a young player, you could write a book about Vernon's shenanigans before he became a Protea. You understand me? Or even a franchise player. But he always had the makings on it, and so did Rory. You understand me? We can go on with many others, because I mean, one saw over 50 guys, proceed into first-class cricket and eventually into international cricket through a program that I ran from 1998, which I call the exchange program with the UK and Holland. JP, Vernon, Rory, Firan Biadin, I can go on, Craig Alexander. There's so many names I can mention, all went through. And for me, that was not only an education in cricket, but an education in life, where they left just after school. So identifying players, and I think the biggest problem we have in our systems today, and it remains a problem, and even in my time, is there's always influence in a system, you see. And if we can get to a stage where I still believe youth cricket, you always had to have youth cricket somehow married to schools and schools cricket. Not necessarily clubs, but schools. And this has been a kind of dilemma and debate that's gone on for ages. You understand me? The crucial thing is that you have a system where you have the people who run the system, and particularly I'm talking around selection and things like that, and the attempt to be as neutral as you can, and that's never going to be easy where you have humans involved. But when you get to that system, because you will always have the debates as to why somebody wasn't selected, that should have been selected. You get people who play exceptionally well and don't make teams. You understand me? People who play in prior tournaments. I mean, we've got examples of that, and then don't make teams. I think what is important is the neutrality of the system, and how that can be done, I suppose, with enough out of the box thinking, it can be achieved. You understand? I do believe that can be achieved.
Yeah. And for some, and you'll know more than anybody else, obviously, that certain players, some people they work really hard. Every single cricketer works really hard to get where they are. But there is some sort of little bit of luck involved with regards to selection, etc. And some people are disappointed because there's only 11 that can be picked. So can you maybe give some advice to those younger guys out there that feel, and they almost feel let down that they didn't get picked, and sometimes it can be disheartening. But my suggestion to them would obviously just to push through. But I think you would be more, how can I say, you'll have more qualifications to be able to give them the correct advice on how to push through to that. So what sort of advice would you give them if that set time comes around and they feel, okay, I didn't get picked? How do they get mentally strong to continue going forward?
I think the important thing, Khalid, is they mustn't get caught up in a situation, and that's what happens to 90% of the players in that situation. Because look, a player is not an island. You see, so he's got his mates around him, he's got his school, he's got his parents, he's got his family. and everybody will raise comments as to, the system stinks and whatever, etc. The boy himself, you understand me, I think the boy or girl, I think importantly is to keep, like you're saying, if you are good enough, I'm saying you will always come to the top. Understand me? So you must never give up. And there's examples. Khalid Mohidin is a perfect example. Didn't get recognition at youth level, from selectors, from everybody else. And I can go on. I mean, as far back as Eric Simons, he was another one. You understand me? And we can come further down, to closer to home now in terms of recent things where guys, they just don't give up. They prove to you that they will score that runs. They prove to you that they will take that wickets. And after you stay at number 1 or number 2 or number 3, 2 or 3 years in a row, who can then ignore you? You can't then be ignored. I think Peter Malan at senior level proved that. He knocked on the door for 6 years. You understand me? Before somebody said, no, okay, they opened the door for you. You understand? So I suppose the best advice is you keep going, because you must love the game. It mustn't really matter. You understand? You must love the game. If you love the game enough, you will never stop trying, and you'll get to the top. If you are good enough. You see, because we also have a large group of people, you understand me, who believe they're good enough, and we all know that they're not. But it's not always easy to tell them that. But that is the reality, and that goes for any code of sport and anything in life. I think that you do get the people who rate themselves far above, where they actually find themselves.
Yeah.
I think guys must just not stop trying. Khalid, I think it may be a good time to say that I think what we also need to do is we need to start having parallel systems. Okay, at a time like this, the game, and you're probably going to come onto that, is severely impacted, and I don't think people realize just how severely impacted the game is. This COVID-19 has created for us. Let's not lose sight of the fact that CSA was in all kinds of problems, or cricket was in all kinds of problems before COVID came along. It's like we've tended to forget about that, but there was all kinds of problems in cricket as well. You understand me? At the time, whether it be financial, etc., etc. But we need to have parallel system. We need to have community-based systems. You understand me? Which play and selectors should attend. It shouldn't be confined. I mean, if I had the opportunity now to evaluate and maybe evolve the system we presently have, you understand me, and the present that worked very well at the turn of the century for those few years, I think it worked very well. But probably you're going to need a much wider net, you understand me, of identification of players, and that can happen in a very social way, inexpensive way, you understand me. But the moment you pick up, like I said, a boy that plays, that has time to play shots, a bowler that is niggly in terms of the way he bowls and where he bowls consistently, that you pull those guys out and you do something special with them. Because that, and it must be broad. I don't think it must be confined the way it often is nowadays.
Yeah, and I'm going to move on to the CEO role, because it's something that a lot of people can actually learn from it. When you look on it on paper, it's people think it's quite a glamorous role. They don't actually know what's going behind the scenes and how much hard work goes on behind the scenes to actually become a CEO and actually run a franchise, especially a franchise as big as the Cobras. Can you maybe give me some insight into that role and some of the difficulties that you faced, and also some of the great things that you have achieved so far?
Yeah, look, I think I don't like talking about achievements. You understand me? So I'd leave that for somebody else to judge. But I think the important thing about being a chief executive, especially today, and I'm going to talk particularly about Western Province cricket. Okay, I talk because we are a little bit unique compared to many other affiliates. So chief executive, you understand, there's you got the parent company, which is Western Province Cricket Association, and that parent company looks after all our amateur cricket effectively. The tens of thousands of cricketers play in that system. Understand me? Which is your youth and your women and your club and your disabled and all the different kinds, the umpires, the scorers, and everybody else, right? So you need to have, I think, as a CEO, somebody very competent, useful, you understand me, running that portfolio. Something I did before, and I must admit today, given the changes that's taken place, particularly involving all the scorecards and all those things, I may have had to have a very good secretary to do that. You understand me? I was still sitting in that job today, because it's become very, very administrative, and for me, that's the only scary part, right? In 15 years ago, we spent more times out in the schools, in the fields, you understand me, looking at cricket than we do today. Today, there's an enormous amount of time spent in meetings, you understand me, and with these scorecards. And I want to liken it almost to education when I was teaching and I left teaching, where we left, and I used to say it and I can say again, let's not get into a space, you understand me, where we don't educate people, but we administer education. Let's not get into a space where we administer cricket, right? But we're not involved in cricket, but we administer cricket only. And I think that's maybe the road that we're shifting towards. You understand me? So what you have all these different components, you understand me, that supposedly makes up the whole. You understand me? Which is, so you have these camps, you have these scouts, you have all the different items, you understand me? But we don't necessarily tie them all together in one wholesome situation that everybody can understand. Right? I think cricket has an opportunity with this COVID thing and the fact that they're probably going to lose 30 to 40% of their revenues. You understand me? Has an opportunity to rethink the models and how they do it. I believe they are presented with an opportunity. Right? To go further in the CRL, so you've got the parent company, and then you also have the professional company, which is Western Cape Cricket, which runs the franchise. Okay, so you have that responsibility. Then we have a third company, which is the Super Sport, which looks after vending, you understand me, and beverages and all those things within the stadium. So there's a third company called Western Province Professional Cricket, which is a 50-50% partnership with Super Sport. Okay, and I've been in the invidious position of, in the last 18, since May 2018, also have the property company that's doing our property. So you can, what tends to happen, you understand me, is you just taken and further removed from the actual game. You understand me? And what's relevant, you have to have obviously the confidence in your coaches and your administrators that run the professional game. So you have your head coach and his team. You have, I must be very, very honest, the last 12 months I've hardly got to the team because of what's happening with the development. And it's been extremely frustrating because that's not your passion. You want to get back to the passion. And to be responsible for everything from mini cricket to franchise cricket, you understand, the stadium, you understand me, to sponsors in a time that has been very, very difficult for us. You understand me? Sponsorship has not been easy for years. It's going to become 10 times worse now, I believe. You understand me? With this COVID and the impact on business. So to give you a sense, it is a job that you can never, ever switch off, right? And you basically chase your tail almost permanently. You never get ahead of it. It's almost impossible to get ahead of it. There's just far too many components and far too many issues, far too many roles, and you depend, I think, as a CEO, very much on the team you have. Understand me? And if there's a weakness there, you fill that gap. You understand? And it can be very daunting. I can put it that way to you. Very, very daunting. And there's things that you're not in control of. I think your environment, there's certain things you're in control of, and then there's extraneous factors that you're not in control of, and that sometimes hurts you the most. So I don't know if I've given you a sense of what it's all about, right?
Yeah, you have. So my next question will be like, I don't know if you're allowed to obviously give us an insight into who will be the next CEO, if it has been appointed yet. But let me rather take a different spin on this and say, if you had to be an advisor to them, I know that you would have been a type of person that would have set up the foundation for them to just come in and take over and just start getting their jobs in order and this work. And I know that you're working hard to set that up for the next person. But with regards to that, if you were to be an advisor now to the next CEO to come in, what sort of guidance would you give him? What word of advice?
Yeah, I think the difficulty at the moment, you're going to have somebody who has a reasonable, I think somebody who has a reasonable spread of knowledge around all these areas I mentioned to you. You understand me? So to find somebody like that may not be entirely easy, but we have to find, and somebody also that obviously must be able to work with people. You understand me? When you ask me who, yes, the process is still ongoing. I'm exiting anyway on Thursday. You understand me? On my last day. And I think they'll probably put an interim person in because, I mean, the lockdown has also scuppered their plans in terms of getting this process done.
Yeah.
I have not been able to get myself in a position to hand over because you must remember that from early March, we've been in the situation. I haven't been able to go to basically you can't sit and have meetings and that type of thing. So they will probably put somebody interim there, probably somebody from who's presently there just to look after things until they identify. I suspect that probably in the next 2 to 3 months they'll probably identify. The process has commenced, and I know they are in the process of shortlisting people and then to having to interview people. The advice I say again must be an all-round. I think that's going to be the important thing. Somebody who can understand as much.
Yeah. So this is an awesome question that I got in over here that I'm going to read out to you. It's quite long from Mr. Ghulam Jaffer. He says, Nabeal, thanks for the reference to the past. I'm going to refer to it again, if you don't mind. Coming into the Western Province setup after a topsy-turvy period of unification, you will know how much distrust or doubt there was, and perhaps still is, regarding the credentials of people on either side of the historical cricket or public divide and political divide. Did you ever feel people had doubted your capabilities, and how did you manage this?
Yeah, I think to Ghulam, I'll answer him very. Ghulam knows me well. I mean, we've come a long, long, long way. I think that there will always be people, you understand me, that will doubt your capabilities. Okay, I think the crucial thing for me is like that cricketer I spoke to you about. He's got to put his head down. He's got to prove them wrong. You understand me? You've got to prove them that I'll keep scoring the hundreds. You can't ignore me. And very similarly, in your job, you had to ensure that you could show that was supposedly what the model administrator was or what he could do. You understand me? You had to show that you could do that. You understand me? And you could in fact do better than that. And I think that has always been a kind of motivation for me. But until today, there are people that doubt your capabilities. Until today, there are people, even though you can probably show them a great CV, you understand me? But there will always be people, and there's all kinds of debates that will come up, and as I say, I think what I've tried to do through the years, Ghulam will know it, he put the message out, I've never ever responded to media who were either critical or praiseworthy. You understand me? You just leave them to have their opinion, but don't get drawn into expressing yours firmly enough so that it becomes a debate. So you just do what you believe is the right thing to do, and that your committees and the people around you, you understand me, guide you towards as well. I think it's very important to listen. That's very, very important to listen. But in the end, somebody must make a decision, and that's the important thing, is to make that decision and go through it.
So, Mr. Dien, I hope that after you do step down from this position, that you take some time out and relax with your family and spend some time with them and just rethink it. Do you have plans of anything? Have you thought about what you're going to do after this?
No, look, I mean, this is obviously scuppered a lot of things for me. This COVID thing that we all sitting at home and we can't do anything. I can say it will be there will still be a bit of cricket involved in my future. You understand me? And I'd like to. I have thought of a few things. It's very difficult now, you understand me, to make it work. But some of the things I mentioned to you earlier about ensuring that we widen the net, to create more competitions, to create. So it's very much grassroots stuff that I really enjoyed and I really loved. I'd like to go back there and feel that feeling again that I haven't had for a few years.
Cool. Okay, so being the Cricket Fanatics channel, and you were Cricket Fanatic first, I need to ask you some questions that revolving fanatics, and I want to know a moment where maybe you can go back into your memory banks when you were younger, and the moment that you really fell in love with the game itself when you were watching either a player that you saw play or a particular match that stood out to you. or a hero you looked up to, or something that just really drew you to the game, and you were like, "Wow, I love this game." Is there any
Well,
moment like that?
yeah, Khalid, I'll go back to a game that took place, I think, between Montrose and Primrose. I was a lot younger at the Greenpoint. Was it Montrose? Yeah, no, I think it was United and Primrose at the track. But I think basically between the two teams, they may have had probably 80% of the provincial players. You understand me? And I'm talking about a lefty who's coming towards the end of his career at that time. Rushdie, Said was a 17-year-old, I think.
Wow.
So having been at that game, you understand me, and just saw, I think that day, if I can recall correctly, Said Majid, I think, needed 13 runs and over, or 6 overs or something, and got it. You understand me? And he was hit on the head twice. But I mean, I just watched that, and I think that drew me. I loved athletics. You understand me? I always saw myself as going to become an administrator in athletics. I mean, I always saw that. But seeing that on that day, I think I recall that day particularly. You understand me? That I just thought this is absolutely wonderful. I think Faik may have been playing as a youngster on that day as well. But Brahma Isaacs, all those guys were playing. I think that was probably the turning point for me in terms of falling in love with the game. You understand me? And then getting involved with the club, which was Primroses, after Garlandale. You understand me?
Yeah. Because moving on from that, maybe anything else after that with regards to the Proteas specific, a game or player, something that made you really feel proud of? Obviously, seeing the debuts of, like, for example, JP Dumini and Bernie Philander, and obviously those guys that you helped pull through the system, etc., obviously would have made you really proud. But are there any moments that really stood out to you from a fan's perspective? You watched the game and you were like, "Wow!"
I will always, and JP knows this also. There's two games, there's two innings, that was really something that I will never forget. You understand me? It will always be very, very near and dear to me. Yes, a number of those plays, and I can mention more of them. I mean, I was very, very Bieran Hendricks. When he, I couldn't believe that when he made it. You understand? But we sent him for 2 years to a club called Tavistock. And ironically, prior to him, Craig Alexander went there just as they finished, and then it was almost a club that you send fast bowlers to, because somehow they came back and they became very, very good. You understand? But the question of a proud moment was, you will probably, I don't know if you do remember, Khalid, but when JP, I can't remember if he debuted now, but that 166 that he scored for South Africa against Australia.
Yeah.
Now I recall that night saying to my wife, "Look, I think it starts around midnight. You understand me, or the comment, what the broadcast." And I said to her, "Look, JP's batting, or he's about to bat. You understand me? I think I want to watch the first half an hour." Okay. And I can remember coming the morning, understand me, lights already coming back in and saying, "You still watching?" I said, "JP still batting." Understand me? And that was his 166. But that was remarkable. But at his farewell, I said to him, that was brilliant. I mean, I'll never forget that day, and just how sitting through that night and just being so really proud of this boy was, I think, he was a 16-year-old turning 17. Rushdie had spoken to me. We were playing games at Newlands every Wednesday night. Arthur Turner had this concept where we played on Wednesday nights at Newlands, and we had a north, south, east, central team. You understand me? A group of selectors. Yeah. And JP played, and at that time, guys like Craig Matthews, quite a number, in fact, of the top provincial players played in there, because it was a matter of trying to identify new talent. And JP played in a game facing all these bowlers, and I remember him getting 99 not out. There wasn't another ball for him to get 100. He's a 17-year-old. Wow. And Peter Kirsten on that night, I think the next 3 weeks later, he played for Western Province.
Sure.
You understand? So that particularly made me very, very proud. Yes.
That's amazing. So, Mr. Dien, I think we're going to come to a conclusion with this. This was a very insightful conversation. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think that maybe you can just give a message to the Cricket Fanatics fans out there, and leave any message that you want to leave, just to end off this broadcast.
Yeah, I think maybe Khalid, I would like to tell people that they must take into account that we are going to go through a very, very difficult period in sport. I think what this COVID-19 has kind of highlighted to us is where we sit on the pecking order in society. You understand me? And I think over time we got a false sense of where we sit. That's why people were earning those astronomical figures in sport. And that kind of thing has to be rethought. If I'm going to say anything to anybody, let us not forget the grassroots. Okay, let's not forget our schools and our youth, particularly. And I even go down to our mini cricket. You understand me? Every school in this country should be playing mini cricket. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. You then will create a fan base, whether you indirectly will create it without even trying to do anything about it, but it comes with time. But to tell people, to tell our cricketers and tell our people who love the game of cricket, don't give up. We have a huge amount of challenges, whether it be facilities, whether it be whatever. And let's, very importantly, I've said this for donkey's years, understand me? And there's some people who say it today still. When you go to a classroom, you understand me, you have a teacher, and that teacher teaches you, you understand me, what you take from there, and whoever else there is that will advance that knowledge, it depends on you as an individual, right? So our teachers in cricket are our coaches, right? And if our coaches are not going to step up the plate, if they're not going to become good teachers, then we're not going to have good students. You understand me? So we won't have good players. And the players themselves, the older they get, must also take that forward themselves. Self-learning is also very important. But we, CSA and everybody involved in the game, you understand me, we have to increase the coaches, but more importantly, we have to create skill levels and knowledge of our coaches.
Yeah,
that is so crucial, and I don't think it's ever been taken seriously. I think the last 3-4 years, CSA has stepped up to the plate where this is concerned. Maybe not enough, but prior to that, you'll be shocked if you must know what coaching got in a whole cricket system. But it was under 0.5% of the revenue of your budget. So you at least there's a shift in the right direction. But very, very importantly, we can all become coaches. Can't do us any harm. You understand me? Can't do us any harm. But the better ones must ensure that their knowledge base is such that, like a good teacher, you go on learning. That's the only way you get better.
That's an amazing message. Thank you very much, Mr. Dien, for coming on here and chatting to us. And good luck for your future. And I hope all your family stays safe and healthy, and you too. And good luck to you the rest of your future.
Thank you.